I want to talk about the Amish today. I think a lot of us think of the Amish based on what they drive, like a horse and carriage versus a car, or what they wear. They wear like a pilgrim outfit or a Puritan type outfit. But there was the most crazy study that was done on the Amish, or study of the Amish that was done related to health outcomes. It's actually nuts. So Steve Kirsch conducted this study. I don't know if you've heard of Steve Kirsch or not. You probably have. He's a tech millionaire. He's worth like $250 million. And he made a name for himself after he became a tech millionaire. He made a name for himself by getting into the medical experiment field, meaning during the beginning of COVID, he put a ton of money towards trying to figure out if we had an existing pharmaceutical drug that could treat COVID-19 versus going through the whole development process. Well, he conducted a study on why the Amish did not die from COVID when the rest of Americans did. And this is what he found. He testified in front of the Pennsylvania State Senate. Take a listen.
Let's talk about the Amish. Yesterday, I drove to Lancaster County. I drove to Amish country. I drove from house to house to house. I actually went to the house of a relative of Gideon King. He's the one person, the only known person in the Amish community who supposedly died from COVID that I'm aware of. Now, they say there may be up to 5 people in Lancaster County who died from COVID, but I was unable to get the names of 5 people. I offered $2,500 reward on Twitter. Hey, give me the names of more than 5 people in Lancaster County who died from COVID. Not a single person was able to name more than one person. They all named Gideon King. One guy. So I talked to I actually went to the house of Sam King, who's a relative of Gideon King, and I talked to Sam. He doesn't know if Gideon actually died from COVID or not. He died in the hospital. They think it was COVID, but maybe he died from the COVID hospital protocols. Okay? So you look at the Amish. I did the calculation. Let's say there were 5 Amish people, because people say, I think there were maybe a few, or maybe there were 5 Amish people. But you know, and then I asked them, okay, can you name them? And nobody can name them. But let's say that we could name them. And there were 5 Amish people who died. That means the Amish died at a rate 90 times lower than the infection fatality rate of the United States of America. The Amish died at 90 times lower rate from COVID than America, than the rest of America. Now, how is that possible? It's possible because the Amish aren't vaccinated. And because the Amish didn't follow a single guideline of the CDC. They did not lock down. They did not mask. They did not social distance. They did not vaccinate. And there were no mandates in the Amish community to get vaccinated. They basically ignored every single guideline that the CDC gave us. Ignoring those guidelines meant a death rate 90 times lower than the rest of America. So you talk about taking guidance from the WHO. Why don't we copy what works? In fact, wouldn't it be great to say in the next pandemic that Pennsylvania will take guidance from the Amish instead of the WHO, and you will be much, much better off.
Doesn't that just hit you in the gut? Like watching that, I've watched that multiple times now, and it's, in a sense, it's infuriating because we have a case study for how to facilitate health, and we are experiencing the opposite of that in our country. It's not, he's right, but he's also, there's an additional element to this. So it's not just that the Amish didn't mask and didn't social distance and didn't take the mRNA jab. It's also because of the lifestyle of the Amish leading up to the quote unquote pandemic. Think about what the Amish do. They do not ingest chemicals. They do not ingest pharmaceuticals. They do not use technology. They actually grow their own food, which means they have a healthy diet. Listen, I've spent my life in this halfway point between conservative politics and leftist health viewpoints. And what I mean by that is up until the pandemic, people who lived what I call a crunchy alternative lifestyle, like going to the chiropractor and taking probiotics and using natural supplements, those are mostly people that were like the crunchy hippy dippy people, especially those who also questioned vaccines. It was like the anti-vaxxers were all leftists, right? This was a leftist thing. Conservatives weren't on board with this. So I spent half my life in this very conservative world of politics. And I also spent my life in this kind of leftist alternative medicine environment. It never made sense to me why it was leftists who were in the alternative medicine community. It doesn't make sense to me at all, actually, because the bigger government is, the more they regulate that stuff. The bigger government is, the more that they mandate stuff. So actually having the individual choice to do things alternatively and to go against the CDC or to pick another option, not just like traditional Western medicine, it never made sense to me why leftists were the ones in that camp and why conservatives, who traditionally have challenged institutional, quote unquote, experts, technocracy, it never made sense to me why conservatives didn't get on board with that. But we've seen a huge shift, right? Finally, during COVID, a lot of conservatives who kind of just went along with it were like, oh, whoa, wait a second. Maybe Big Pharma, maybe the CDC isn't correct here. Maybe our pediatricians don't know what's best. And so there's been a huge shift. There's been an enormous shift, which I am delighted to see. Come and join me over here in crunchy land. Come and join me in the land of trying to avoid chemicals. My life is basically an exercise in trying to exist in the Western world and do my health the way that the Amish do their health. Because this next video that I'm going to show you is super crazy. Steve Kirsch did an additional study. He didn't just talk anecdotally with families in Lancaster County. He didn't just calculate that Amish people were 90 times less likely to die from COVID-19. He also did a little investigation into chronic disease. We in America are suffering from a major epidemic of chronic disease. Autoimmune diseases are like we've never seen them before. Childhood chronic diseases are unreal. Almost more children have a chronic disease than children who don't. This is not normal. The medical community tries to make it normal. They try to say, don't put a stigma on it. This is just how children are made. That's not true. That's not true at all. And Steve Kirsch talks about exactly what is being done to children, but not to Amish children, that accounts for the difference, not just in COVID outcomes, not just in overall health, but in childhood diseases. Hi guys, it's Liz Wheeler. Don't forget to watch my show, The Liz Wheeler Show, every night at 7 p.m. on the First TV. You can download the free First TV app, or you can visit thefirsttv.com/Liz and start watching today.